Hello, hello, my nasties. Welcome to another Sketchy Saturday video. We have not filmed a Sketchy Saturday video in ages. And it's not because I've been slacking on art. It's not because I've not been in the mood to work. On the contrary, I have been working on artwork every single day, diligently, mind you. I'm trying to get my new coloring book completely inked by the end of April. So far, we are on track. So it's not because I've not been in the mood. I'm always in the mood for art. You know this. But I came to the realization earlier today that the reason why I have not been filming art videos lately is quite simple. I just have not been in the mood to talk. That's it. Why I've been not in the mood to do a whole lot of this, because you guys know I love to talk, is because if you've been keeping up with my recent vlogs, you know that I am currently in the process of restructuring my life a bit, my work life, just everything. So I need that empty space that is silence. I need to fill that with my thoughts. And by me having conversations while I'm working is not allowing me to work through what it is that I need to work through. So the compromise that I've come up with is to just say hello, give you a little intro, let you know what it is I'm going to be working on, and then I will work in silence, and then I will be inserting a voiceover answering some of your questions, okay? I'm gonna move my sketchbook off camera for a second because my new book is penciled in here and I don't want any peeky peeks yet. Okay, so this is the little cutie that we are going to be working on today. And I think I'm going to do primarily watercolor, maybe a little bit of marker on this, but it's going to be ink, maybe watercolor, the typical Karla-ness, right? That's the Karla-ism right here. And what I'm going to be doing is pulling a question or two, depending on how long this video ends up being in the editing process, from my Patreon patrons. So I put the question up to my Patreon patrons a while back. I said, hey, what do you guys want me to talk about on YouTube? Do you have any questions that you would like me to answer? Any questions about my artwork, my process? Just let me know, because I would like to answer questions. And so I'm going to be pulling questions from patrons while working on this sketch. So pull up a sketchbook, grab a coffee, an iced tea, whatever, or do whatever it is that you're doing. But given that this is a Sketchy Saturday video, it would be nice if we could all just hang out and sketch together, or grab a coloring book, do whatever. Patreon patrons, if you were a Patreon patron during the month of April, you have this little lady as downloadable line art to color, so enjoy. Let's get on with it. I'm going to start by inking the piece and then laying down color, and this is going to be the end of the intro, and let's get on with the Sketchy Saturday. Well, technically, before I begin, let me go through and give any fresh meat a quick rundown of my process. First of all, if you would like to know or purchase any of the supplies that I use in this video, I will have them listed and or linked down below. If I have Amazon links for your convenience, you don't have to buy on Amazon. You purchase wherever you'd like. If the item is not from Amazon, I will at least have the name so you can shop anywhere else, okay? So supplies will always be linked down below. And what I do is I ink first, then I lay down my layers of color. So I'm going to start with the outline, then the first layer of color, possibly a second layer, and then finally the detail work. Okay, so that's how I do things around here. That's what you are going to see in the video. Now, without further ado, let's get sketching. Okay, everyone, gather round. Let's have a little snuggle up, but not too close. Don't get too close because I will scratch you. All right, it is time to answer a couple of questions. So I am hoping that this video is going to be about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more, I don't know. But for now, what I'm going to do is I was going over my Patreon questions, and most of them were actually requests. So that's my mistake. They were requests for me to do this, that, and the other with color and chats. So the one question that I will be answering today is, I wouldn't doubt, a question that Some of you out there are probably wondering yourselves, and this question was posed by the lovely Patricia. So thank you, Patricia. She is, of course, one of my patrons. And she asked a two-parter question. And those parts are, one, how do I design my girls / how long does it take for me to illustrate them? And B, how long does it take me to come up with my coloring book selection? So let's dive right in. How do I design my girls and how long does it take to pencil? This is a question that is very difficult to answer because I have no set system. I have a style that I work in. Of course, it is just my natural art style, but when it comes to illustrations, it truly, truly depends on what it is that I'm after. If it is a simple headshot, typically a headshot will take me, and this is best case scenario. This is assuming that I'm not endlessly changing hair or an accessory that the girl is wearing. Just a typical headshot will take me, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes to pencil. This includes any finishing touches to the penciling. So initial sketch, finalizing the sketch, and voila, erasing all of this, that, and the other, which didn't make it to the final cut. So quick sketch to the final pencil work, about 5 to 10 minutes. The inking is where I spend the majority of the time. Inking and coloring is always by far the most time-consuming aspect of the entire process. Now, if it is an illustration that is a full body, if it is simply full body, same deal, 5 to 10 minutes, because typically when one of my illustrations is full body, I am still illustrating said illustration on small paper. So it could be an 8x8 sketchbook or an 8x10, 9x12, whatever size it is. I'm fitting an entire body on that one piece of paper. So it takes me about equal the amount of time that it takes to do a headshot. The headshots are a little bit more involved. Sometimes if I'm really working on a headshot that has intricate makeup, intricate hair, floral accessories, tons of skulls everywhere, that is going to take me more than 10 minutes, obviously. But for a really rough sketch that has semi-final lines, 5 to 10 minutes. If it is ultra detailed, okay, it will take me longer. I've never actually sat down and recorded the entire process of illustration, but I know myself and I get really frustrated if I'm overworking, reworking, starting over on an illustration. If it gets to the point where I have to redraw the same illustration 3 times, it's done. Finito. I want absolutely nothing to do with it, and so we move on. I do not endlessly try to fix something because that is simply me forcing myself to do something that does not want to get done. I do not agonize over things like that. If a pose isn't working, if I didn't nail down the pose as well as I would have liked in that initial quick rough sketch, that 3 to 5 minute sketch from the get-go, if I couldn't make it work then, I'm not going to continue agonizing it. We're going to change things up and move on. I am finicky, yes, but I'm not attached to something that isn't working. If something is not working, I don't like to force it. This goes for life. This goes for everything, every aspect of my life, including my art. If something is not working, we toss it and we move on. So initial sketch, pencil sketch, 5 to 10 minutes, or upwards of half an hour, 45 minutes for a final pencil sketch. Now keep in mind that these are all sketches that I do in my sketchbooks. These are not large scale illustrations because of course those will take me longer. So part B of the question, a sippy sip of my, we're doing the sparkling water today. She's getting, oops. Although that was done purposefully, but oops. I have another drink. I have another beverage right next to me. And you hear this one? This is, what is this? Iced coffee in that one. All right. So part 2 of Patricia's question is, how do I come up with, or rather, how long does it take me to come up with my coloring book selections? So Patricia, I probably should have asked you to specify this before I jumped into this video, but you know me, I just jump into things impulsively sometimes. It's better that way, yeah? That way you don't overthink. So, in the name of not overthinking, I think what you are asking is how long it takes me to illustrate an entire coloring book. And if that's not exactly what you're asking, feel free to correct me or to ask another question down in the comments or on my Patreon. So, when it comes to my coloring books are typically standard around 25 pages. And I do that for several reasons. Number one, I think that a coloring book that is over 30 pages is overkill. It's not stressful for me as an artist to illustrate a 30-page coloring book. I mean, I draw every day. I could put together a 100-page coloring book and it would be a pleasure, quite frankly. But the reason that I don't is because I like there to be a little bit of uniformity. says the creature, says this wonky animal, right, who doesn't do anything by the book. But there are certain instances in which I do think that it is beneficial to put some parameters in place to ensure a little bit of continuity. So I like to keep all of my books anywhere from 25 to 30 pages at a maximum. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to that, and those are, of course, my sketchbook coloring books. I do go upwards of 50 pages on those. Typically, I think, let's see, I have three sketchbook style coloring books to date, and I believe it's 50 pages, 40 and 40, right? In any case, I do not go over 50, but they are definitely over 25 pages. And the reason for that is because of the style of the artwork. Given the nature of the line work, it is sketchy, it's just quick pen to paper, not a lot of thought. That allows me the freedom to play a little bit more and to complete the pages much quicker than one of my traditional coloring books. So, back to what I was saying about setting parameters for myself. If I tell myself to complete a coloring book, I know that that book is going to be approximately 25 to 30 pages. And so I give myself about 1 month in which to pencil the entire book. So a month is typically about 30 days, yes? So you can see where the correlation lies in those parameters that I have set for myself. If I'm going to be creating a 25-page book, I tell myself to get it done within the span of a month. Now, if things come up, fine, I will allow myself an extra couple of weeks or so, but I never allow myself to extend the production of a coloring book to more than 2 months for the penciling. That is just excessive. I am not the fastest sketcher in the world, but I am pretty quick. My style is not necessarily intricate, so that doesn't necessarily require the intricacies that go into poring over a sketch for hours and hours and hours. It's simply not my style. I like to spend a lot of time inking, not so much sketching. So I like to get the coloring books sketched within the span of a month. Now, where I kind of pummel myself with work is when it comes to inking, because penciling can be a bit looser, right? Just by its very nature, it is a sketch, it is a pencil line. You can be a little bit more loosey with the penciling, but the inking is where I like to take my time. Now, thankfully, I use an iPad to ink my coloring books. I am not going to rehash the drama that is my wrist. You all know I have tendonitis. It is, by all intents and purposes, she's chronic in my wrist. She is living in my wrist rent-free, unfortunately. So I have tendonitis in my wrist. And I used to suffer yearly flare-ups. And sometimes it wasn't even once a year. Well, no, I would hesitate to say that I had multiple flare-ups per year. I think what it was is I would have a major flare-up and then it would calm down a little bit because I would keep off of my wrist, and then when I started feeling better, I would start to work a little bit more and then it would flare up again. So I don't think it ever completely went away. And I will say that ever since I introduced, begrudgingly, although I do not regret it now, I introduced the iPad into my life, my tendonitis has not been an issue since then. Because what my problem was physically speaking, was the inking process. That is what was killing my wrist because of the pressure, the constant repetitive motions, this, that, and the other. Inking has always taken me a long time. Now, with the iPad, is it a little bit faster? I would say, believe it or not, yes. Even though inking with the iPad does take a while, it is a laborious process, I will say that, yeah, it probably is a little bit. I couldn't really gauge. Yeah, I can't really give you any definite answer on how much faster using an iPad is in terms of inking, but it definitely has made the process a little bit quicker. Now, what it has also done is that it has inspired me to make my coloring books a bit more detailed. Now, there's always been natural progression with me as an artist. If you are someone who has been purchasing my coloring books from the beginning and you know the story, then you already know, and this is just going to be a rehash. But for those of you who are new to my channel, I started making coloring books with the intention of making the least polished, least professional coloring books imaginable. That's not to say that I did not want to put any work into them, no, but the idea was that I wanted to make them very sketchy from the start. And it worked. My first few coloring books, the line work is very thin. That is something that I had not come across in coloring books. I had not come across sketchy style books, nor had I come across coloring books that had such thin lines. Because at the time, my favorite mode of inking, I would use the teeny tiny micron pen. I was inking with the micron 005 and the zeros, is it 003? I was inking with the tiniest microns imaginable, you guys, the tiniest, and I loved it. I loved it. And somehow I wanted to translate that wonky line work into coloring books. I wanted to serve people purposely wonky books. Now, Karla doing what Karla does, people did appreciate the books. They liked them. People still enjoy my old school books, but they are challenging. For someone who is accustomed to coloring books, they are accustomed to the clean digital lines, the thick lines, the easy to color line work. Yeah? You pick up a book, you know where to put your color, you don't have to think too much. It's just a mindless activity. Now, my books did, for me, in Karla land, they were a form of escapism for me. I could pull out one of my coloring books and I could go to town coloring. But me living in my bubble, I didn't realize that they were actually going to be more challenging for other people than I had anticipated them being, because there are people out there who are much more timid with their coloring. So my books were a bit of a turn-off because they were a little bit difficult to understand. And that is why I created a channel to show people, hey, I'm the girl who created these wonky books. You either love them or you hate them, but if you've given them a try, this is what I want you to do with my books. I want you to treat them as a playground. And so the rest is history. Here I am on my channel making coloring books to this day. Now my style has evolved. I have changed my coloring book style. So now what I've done is I've cleaned up my line work. My coloring books are not necessarily traditional, but the lines are a little bit cleaner and more defined thanks to the iPad. Enter my sketchbook coloring books. I still would like to cultivate, I still want to maintain the idea of using my books as a playground, not only for myself as a creative while I'm in the process of creating the books, but also for my audience. I would like them to, when they're in the mood for it, maybe they've had a bad day, maybe they've had a stressful day, maybe they just need to clear their mind, maybe they're just in the mood to have some fun, they can pull out specifically one of my sketchbook coloring books and just throw all of their cares out the window while they're coloring. Get it? So I basically exist on two different worlds. So long story longer, it takes me about 1 month to do all of the pencils. I try to pencil 1 to 2 pages per day. And with the inking, I give myself a month in which to complete it, but I give myself a little bit more grace when it comes to inking because I know that it is going to take me a little bit longer. So about 1.5 months to ink the books. I typically like to release books every 3 to 4 months or so. Although this year we're going to scale it back, I think. It's already April, so I will say that guaranteed there will be 3 books this year, but I don't think I'm going to push it if I can't, and that's fine. So Patricia, I hope that answers your questions. Again, if I didn't, or if you have any more questions, feel free to leave them below. And this goes for anyone else who is watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. You can ask me questions about the page that I'm sketching or just anything else, and I will make a note of them. I've been keeping a sheet with everyone's questions on there, so I will eventually work my way down. So I said I wanted to chit chat for about 20 minutes or so, right? Is that what I said? 15, 20, 25 minutes, something like that. So why don't we go ahead and chit chat about this sketch a little bit before I go? This sketch is very much in keeping with what I have been preaching this entire video. Basically, is that it took me just a few minutes to sketch this pencil sketch, and then I did not ink it right away. What I did is I penciled it, and I enjoyed the pencil sketch so much that I thought my patrons might enjoy it as well. So I took it directly to the iPad and I inked it digitally, and then I just loved the sketch so much that I thought, why don't we revisit this and make this a Sketchy Saturday? So I decided to just quickly in one day. Now, to be fair, I did not sit here from dawn to dusk working on this. I sat down for a few bursts of time. So 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, another 15 minutes here, and voila, we had a completed sketch. And I'm taking this opportunity to, as with my coloring books, to encourage anyone who is watching this video to play with loose line work and or loose color. If you have a sketch in your sketchbook that you already have the lines on, if they're already crisp and beautiful, slap some sloppy loose color on top of it. Free yourself to have some fun. On the flip, if you have a sketch that you are thinking about finishing, be very loose with your line work. Just grab a pen or two and just quickly scratch the outline and then play with some loose color. It will allow you to explore a part of you that maybe you are not accustomed to exploring, especially, I'm knocking on your forehead here, if you are one of these people, if you are one of these individuals who worries so much, too much about your sketchbooks, just play. That is what my Sketchy Saturday videos are all about. It's just me sitting down with my book and having a little therapy session, because at the end of the day, I am not someone who enjoys airing my dirty laundry to anyone. I'm a highly emotional person, yes, but I'm also very private, and I like to be my own problem solver when necessary. And if I have things going on in my life that are a little crazy, if I'm feeling a little stressed, all of that, I like to just use my art as an outlet. In the process of me creating something, I am also releasing the negativity. It doesn't help completely. It doesn't solve all of my problems, unfortunately, because I do exist. I am an adult on earth, so that comes with its issues, but I see my sketchbook time as sacred, private playtime. It's just me, my book, playing with color, and that's it. And I hope that this encourages you to do the same. Grab a sketchbook, grab a coloring book, because these principles apply to coloring books as well. What have I been telling you guys? Just go nuts. Go nuts in your sketchbook, go nuts in your coloring books. And I'm going to take off now. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit of a different format for Sketchy Saturdays, but I kind of like it. I'm just sitting here nice and cozy with my microphone and my iced coffee, just hanging out with you all and having a chit chat. I was able to sketch in my sketchbook in private. I was able to be my own therapist over in my sketchbook in complete silence while I was working. And, sometimes I listen to music or I watch documentary, but you know what I mean. My mouth is zipped. Oh, miracle angel singing. Her mouth for once in her life is closed. But it's a very therapeutic experience for me to just shh and draw. But on the flip, I also enjoy speaking with you all, and I enjoy, having videos for my channel to entertain you all with. So, hey, it helps. I kind of like this format, so we may continue in the future. With this, I think keeping the color in chats to full on coloring or color in chat sessions where I'm speaking to you in real time works for that format. But for my Sketchy Saturdays, I don't know, we may have to mix it up and do a little of this as well. So without further ado, for what, the 50th time I've been trying to make my exit from this video, off I go. Be bad, be good. I do not, listen to me, I do not give a damn which. Just come back in one piece. Take a look down below. Everything you need to know will always be down below. To my patrons, thank you, babies. Have fun. I'm going to go now. I keep trying to catch myself. I'm like, did I forget to say anything? Don't think so. Once again, be bad, be good. I don't give a damn which. Just come back in one piece. All right, I will see you in the next one.